Hi, Eric Simpson here from the Coach Me Slim and Trim program, a program designed to help busy professional women who are looking to drop 2 to 3 dress sizes in the next 3 to 6 months without becoming a slave to the gym or starving themselves on some crazy, wacky, mad diet. This week's tip, I'm going to speak about weight loss frustration. And we've all had it. Even I've had it when I've tried to drop a few pounds. Sometimes you can get a bit frustrated, and certainly a lot of our clients have got to points where they get an element of frustration. So what I'd like to do is first of all take a step back from that frustration in order to provide some sort of landscape upon which I can explain why it is that people become frustrated and how you can move beyond that point of frustration. And it's something called the learning cycle. Now, the learning cycle is something that we go through emotionally, psychologically, regardless of anything we want to learn. So if you want to learn a new skill, a new habit, whatever, we have to go through this learning cycle. And the more complex the thing is, the longer the learning cycle may be, the more opportunities for frustration during that learning cycle to be complete. So where does the cycle start off from? Well, it starts off with us being, in terms of weight loss now, unconsciously incompetent. There are 4 stages I'm going to be going through. This is the first stage, unconsciously incompetent. And this is where you're not entirely unaware that you are overweight or unfit or not eating particularly well. This phase is typically depicted by people who bury their heads in the sand, ignore it. And it's maybe something you've done yourself. For women it may well be, in order to bury my head in the sand about my weight and my physical being and how I feel, I may go and bury my head in the sand. I may go and paint my fingernails, get my hair done, buy a handbag, buy some shoes to try and deflect away from the fact you're carrying the weight. So that's the unconscious, incompetent stage. You're not aware that you're not competent. Stage 1. Stage 2 is becoming consciously aware. So you're now consciously incompetent. You are now aware that you are not particularly good at thinking positively, you're not particularly good at eating healthily on a regular basis, nor are you particularly good at taking regular exercise. This is quite a painful place to be for most people. To be told that you are not competent at something as an adult, we don't like that anyway, no matter what area it's in. To be told you're not competent isn't nice, but when you're told you're not particularly competent in something which is quite an emotional area like weight loss and being overweight, what most people will do in this situation is run back to the earlier stage, the unconscious incompetent. More nail painting, more hairstyles, more handbags, more shoes, bury head in the sand, don't do anything about it. But if you have the desire to move to the third stage is what's called conscious competency. You're now consciously competent. So basically what you're now doing is you are thinking a bit more positively on a regular basis, not all the time, but more often than not. You are more than likely planning your meals quite regularly and eating them well and following them more often than not. And you've probably become more active as well, more often than not. So you're now what we call consciously competent. So that's the third phase. Then the final phase, stage 4, or phase 4, is going full circle all the way back to unconscious and competent. You're now doing all of these things. You're thinking more positively, pretty much automatically. You're now eating more healthily, making better choices, pretty much automatically. You're now taking those regular walks or going to the gym or using the bike or the road, whatever it might be that you're doing for physical activity. You're now doing that more automatically. That's what we call subconscious competency. Things are just happening more naturally. So those are the 4 stages. So in terms of frustration, where does the biggest frustration come? The biggest frustration comes between conscious incompetence, that's stage 2, moving from there to conscious competent. That bit in the middle is the bit where the most frustration happens. So I'll just say that again so I'm clear. So conscious incompetence, that's stage 2, moving from there to conscious competent, where you are planning things out. That bit in the middle, that step across, is where most of the frustration happens. Why? Because it may well be that you're now eating more healthily, far healthier than you've ever eaten before, but it's maybe still not quite good enough. It's better than it was, but maybe still not quite good enough. It needs to be tweaked a little bit more. Maybe you are thinking more positively more often than not, but actually maybe you could do a little bit more in that department as well. And in terms of exercise, yes, maybe you're taking some good walks, but maybe you just need to increase the tempo a little bit more than what you're currently doing. And unless you're doing those things, it can appear on the to an outsider that you're doing all the right things, but if they're not quite at the right level, intensity, or some things are missing, you can end up not quite getting the results that you think you should be getting, especially if you've changed a lot from what you've previously done. And you now think, well, I deserve to be getting all these wonderful results. You may be closer than you think, but that's where most of the frustration happens when it comes to weight loss. So my advice to you would be, depending upon your situation, maybe you need to read some more books to get some more knowledge. Maybe you need to visit a gym, get some information. Maybe you need to be contacting us to work with us to help you to figure out some of this stuff. But don't try and figure it all out by yourself. Otherwise, that frustration can grow and grow and grow until, guess what? You end up going all the way back to unconscious incompetence, more nail varnish, more hairstyles, more handbags, more shoes, head buried in the sand. Hopefully found that of use to you this week, a slightly longer video than usual. As ever, if you have any questions at all, then please feel free to either email them in or send them via Facebook. Until next week, thank you for listening, and please do leave a comment, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Bye for now.